Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you live to episode number 3 of Behind the Terriers right here on the Terrier Sports Network. I'm Joey Jarzinka. We are joined by men's volleyball head coach and women's volleyball assistant coach, Niko Lambert. Niko, welcome to Behind the Terriers. It's an honor to have you here, sir, and it looks like it's a gorgeous day right in the background. That doesn't look like a virtual background either. That really is nature.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for having me, Joey. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Really, really happy to have you. And for those that are just joining us for the first time, this whole Behind the Terriers is meant to highlight the members of the St. Francis athletic community. So a part of the community is the aforementioned Niko Lambert. He is brand new to the school. This is how long have you been with St. Francis College now? It's going to be close to a year, right?
In August, it'll be 1 year.
Wow. Okay, excellent. So a year already, and it is May, so time is flying. And on top of it, you came from a school such as Stevens Institute of Technology that has a very powerful volleyball program. And you graduated with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering as well. And really, really good stuff from the time that you were there, 2016 all the way to 2019, I believe. And before we get started with that, Niko, I do want to ask you this. How are you holding up in quarantine, you and your family?
We're good, actually. We're all doing safe and healthy, just trying to do our part to flatten the curve. That's the most important part right now. So we can give those hugs and shake those hands later.
That's right. That's what I love to hear. And I love how you use flatten the curve. Very, very good. Okay, so let's figure out who Niko Lambert is. And where it all began for you was at, as we said earlier, Stevens Institute of Technology. 2016 was your freshman year. By the way, when I was doing some research, I absolutely loved the haircut that you had. I love that hairdo that you had. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
And but back to 2016, you guys were 29-7. Now, you ran into New Paltz twice in the United Volleyball Conference Championships and in the NCAA tournament. You ran into them once at the conference champion and then in the NCAA. Unfortunately, you fell to them twice. Talk about that year, your freshman year, and how it all came about for you really as a volleyball student athlete.
It was definitely a great year to remember. I mean, getting in a first year was definitely kind of daunting. I still remember playing in that national championship game. And previously, in 2015, Stevens actually won the national championship. So I was surrounded by all these guys who had won a national championship, and they actually had beaten New Paltz in the semifinals the previous year. And so when you think of those guys too, like Christian Smith, Joe Norman, they were all going on and played professionally as well. So it was a nice battle. I mean, all of my teammates they taught me a lot, taught me the ropes of being a student athlete, and now I get to display that knowledge to the new guys, the Terriers.
It's absolutely wild because we were just talking about this off air, and I'm the elder in the room, and which is crazy because a lot of people would think, well, Niko is older because you are leading a St. Francis College Brooklyn Terrier team in their first year at the age of
23.
Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, he just said he's 23 years old, and the first match against Sacred Heart, you were actually 22. That is some amazing, amazing stuff. But before we get to St. Francis and your time here in Brooklyn Heights right now, I want to stick to it in chronological order. And following the 2016 season for you at Stevens, 2017. You guys went 31-6. So right there, from your freshman and sophomore year, you had a combined 13 losses. Absolutely surreal. You guys ran into NYU at the United Volleyball Conference Championships, and then you guys unfortunately fell to Springfield in the third round of the NCAA tournament. Now, we'll get to that in 2018 as we see. Springfield is one of the better schools with volleyball. Talk about your time facing a school like the aforementioned Springfield and what the competition meant to you and playing against a team in such a high level.
Yeah, it was definitely something it was playing in their home gym as well. So that was the kind of the first
Even
time
worse, yeah.
we had that first kind of we're the underdogs, the opposing team walking into their house. And Charlie Sullivan's been doing this, Springfield head coach. This is experience for him. It's almost expected. And for us, this was my first time in this stage, in this gym. So definitely a lot of nerves at that point. But we just left it all on the court. That was our main goal.
You're at 27 wins and 5 losses. So the number of losses in your time as a student athlete just keeps going down, down, down. And you played a total of 32 games, 27 wins, 5 losses. You won, I believe you were conference champions that year. You guys were the number 3 seed and played against number 7 Vassar. Talk about that time hoisting a conference trophy.
That was exciting. Funny enough, actually, the women's head coach at St. Francis, Mable Martinez, was my coach at Stevens. So we took us 3 years to win that conference championship, 3 years to go to that national finals, but it was definitely worth it. It was a good experience overall. I mean, we had so much. We had a lot of experience playing University of Hawaii, which went on to lose in the Division I national championship that year. So overall, it was just a culmination of 3 years in the making. All of this experience kind of brought us to that national final.
Now, 2019, 28-6. So you guys had one more win from your junior year. And just for those that do not know, 2019 was Niko's senior year at Stevens. Ran into New Paltz again in the volleyball conference championship, United Volleyball conference championships. And then in the third round of the NCAA tournament, it seems like, like a book that, it's the same book over and over again. You ran into UC Cruz, University of California, Santa Cruz, in the third round of the NCAA tournament. Talk about that time where, you continuously play New Paltz. And coincidentally, New Paltz was on the schedule this year, but we'll get to that in a second. But your senior year, talk about how you cherished the moment and one final time trying to take home not only a conference trophy, but also a national title.
Yeah, it was definitely our goal. I mean, especially my senior class, all of us were such a close-knit group of guys. We realized this was our last ride. And I had expected it to be my last ride, even being involved in organized volleyball. But we fell short. I mean, of course, we had to tip our hats. We got beat. But now I'm back to try to win rings again.
With you being a student athlete and then heading over to the opposite side and being a coach, how did that all come about for you?
It's actually kind of a funny story. Doesn't quite go from A to B, has some zigzags, but
let's hear it. Yeah.
Being an engineer, I mean, I actually am just finishing up my master's degree in engineering as well. I was all staged to go into that field. I was actually working in Connecticut at a medical device company called Cooper Surgical, and I got this phone call one day. And he's like, it was just my old assistant, Mable Martinez. And he's just like, hey, what's up? How's everything going? I'm like, oh, it's great to hear from you. How's everything going? And he goes, hey, I got an offer for you. Want to come be my assistant for the women's team? And I wanted to say yes right then and there, but I'm just like, am I really going to do this? Am I going to kind of leave my degree? Am I going to leave all this? I thought about it for a day, and I was like, there's no way I could say no to this. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I had to. I knew that this was my passion. This was my drive. Then it was September, October time, they were still looking for a head coach for the men's team. And I was like, no way, it's not possible. And then kind of threw my hat in the ring, and next thing you know, here we are telling the story.
And that was right out of college for you, where Amable called you.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's, so really he thought very highly of you, and your leadership, is clearly brought to Remsen Street now. So rewinding a little bit, and you actually did say last ride. I do want to say, if for those that are watching Michael Jordan's The Last Dance, we go from 98 all the way back to 93 and vice versa. So we're going to do that for just one quick thing. So we're going to go from 2020 back to 2016 to 19. We'll go in that range. Mm-hmm. Your favorite road game / tournament that you experienced as a student athlete was where?
Actually, I'll have to say Germany. During my sophomore year, we had the privilege and the honor of going to Germany and actually playing some professional teams there. And that's another one of those experiences that I wouldn't have been in Germany otherwise. I don't have that kind of time, freedom, and then the opportunity that being a student athlete gave me.
Right. And on top of it, again, for those that know the workload that I'm sure, Niko, that you had, being an engineering student could have been absolutely wild. And now that you are currently, you said that you were finishing up your master's. Are you graduating in like next week?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really, really good. So you're going to be a master's in, and that would be mechanical engineering or just engineering general?
Mechanical engineering.
Well, congratulations,
Thanks
Mr. Mechanical Engineer. That really is something special. Okay, so now your time here on Remsen Street. So now we know that your old coach, Amable Martinez, who actually has ties with Stevens Institute of Technology, that's where one of the places where Amable came from, and now we got the connection. That's where Niko came from. Now you are the men's head coach. And all of a sudden, so Amable, so just walk us through this in as many words as you possibly can say on air. You're the women's assistant coach, and then they formed the men's team, and then he asked you to be the men's coach right then and there.
Yeah, essentially.
Women's volleyball is a fall sport, so it's vice versa. Men's volleyball starts in January, if I'm not mistaken, right, Niko? Okay, so January. You are at the helm. You are the head coach. You're not an assistant coach, Niko. What was the feeling like to be a part of a Division I program that is just beginning and trying to do so well in front of not only your elders, but also your bosses and your superiors?
It's definitely one of those things that just do the best you can. It was a tremendous honor being there. I mean, to have that kind of in the history book saying, hey, I was the first one there, the first inaugural game. I mean, I can't say thank you enough to Athletic Director Irma and President Miguel for giving me this honor. But it was definitely something that you think about it afterwards. It was one of those, like, did that actually happen? In the moment, you're not thinking about it. You're like, hey, I want to win this game. Like, I had played in that gym a couple times as an undergrad, and now I'm here coaching in it. It was one of those things like, okay, I'll think about it later. Let's win now. Let's do our thing. So it was definitely something to remember for the rest of my life.
Niko, you want to come in there and you want to come into Remsen Street saying, well, we're going to replicate what I did at Stevens. How difficult was that to do that when you know that to do that with a first-year program, not only is it not easy, the odds with history are so far against you?
I don't think replicate was our main objective. I think, of course, we could take the experiences. Everything can be seen as a learning experience. But we weren't really trying to emulate or replicate any other program that's been done before. I mean, creating this new Division I program, this hasn't been done. I think the last Division I was, Grand Canyon became Division I, was created as Division II, but besides that was Loyola, and that was in 1996. So, like, this hasn't been done in a while. So it was kind of getting our own stride, getting the Terrier way of doing things. We don't really want to copy or replicate. It's finding it ourselves. And I think that's what the young gentleman we have did an excellent job of this year, is kind of paving the way and setting the path for what Terriers volleyball is all about.
Now, you're going into the next contest saying, well, you hear a lot of this stuff. Did you think that this was going to be over, just come crashing down, and your inaugural season is finished?
It was definitely, I mean, it was tough, of course, absolutely, having this kind of pulled away. Thankfully, the guys have the option of having that extra year if they like to use it, which is great from the NCAA perspective. But it was good. I mean, hats off to Damon, too. Donnie Gleason, their head coach, has been doing it. They're a second-year program, and he's done a tremendous job in those 2 years to build something. So it was fun. It was two kind of wet behind the ears programs battling it out.
So now that you battled that out, I believe it was about 12 or 11 days following that Damon match, you had to get prepared for someone very familiar to you in the New Paltz Hawks. Well, guess what? That did not happen, unfortunately, and that would have been your first time back in New Paltz as a head coach. Niko, did you want to get revenge on them and just get that W? How badly did you want it?
About the same one every game. Every game is an opportunity. I mean, I don't check those marks. I don't circle certain dates on my calendar, but it definitely would have been fun to play in their home. I mean, I don't think I only played in their home one time, I believe, and we didn't get the result we wanted. But I mean, that senior class from this past year is one of the most talented Division IIIs like ever seen. So it definitely would have been fun to test our mettle against them.
Now, with your time off and with you enjoying nature as we see, which is fantastic. Volleyball is an indoor sport, but also volleyball is a sport that you have to go see inside. And unfortunately, a lot of the indoor sports right now, they're not going on. We don't know when they're going to come back. Be that as it may, you as a head coach have to go out and recruit. Mm-hmm. Now, in order to get, let's say, a freshman that was in high school already, and you didn't get to see that senior or that 12th grader play, or even, let's say, an 11th grader. Let's say if it was an amazing 11th grader and you wanted to sign him, whatever. Just throwing that out there as an example. I spoke with a guy about a week ago on my personal show from Rivals.com, and the way it was that he was looking for certain guys in high school, from people in high school. And the problem with that was that he had to watch video from his 11th grade year. How tough is that for you as a head coach to look back and say, well, I want to get a freshman, but there's no senior year. It's just written NA, non-applicable. How do you do that? And how hard is that for you as a coach and for, I don't know, really your coaching staff as well?
Yeah, it's definitely a new wrench in things. It's difficult because from a highlight tape, from video, a lot of times you see the best. You see the best of the best. You see how they handle the perfect ball, the perfect pass, all of these, the perfect serve. And I don't recruit just talent. I'm not looking at if you're the best volleyball player. I'm recruiting you as a person. I want to see if things aren't going your way. Are you going to be throwing a tantrum on the court? Are you going to be screaming? I want to your parents. I want to see if your parents are doing the same thing. It's those intangible things that don't quite correlate to volleyball, but it creates that family environment when put together. So there's a lot of other aspects. I think just film is a great first step. I think seeing that film, watching that highlight tape is you can get you can get like a general feel, but it definitely is difficult not seeing it in person, getting that authentic experience of the whole package of how everything is completed.
So with that being said, with no group activities being allowed as per the NCAA right now in this little dead period that we have, how do your players stay positive in terms of physically, mentally? What can you share that, they're doing, what you have them doing individually? What is it right now that you guys could be doing? Are you guys meeting up on Zoom? Is there a specific regimen that you guys have now into, spring and almost into the summer?
Yeah, so we have our Zoom meetings. That's all good. We got just touch base, just make sure morale's high. This is the time of brotherly love. This is really where you're looking at that guy next to you to help bring you up, to help keep that morale high, as I said before. We were rallying around one of our players, Johnny Ferraro, got selected for the USA Beach Collegiate Program, which is a tremendous honor, being a first-year program, to already have that foot in the door for high performance. So that was a big morale boost for the team. And we're kind of using this to take care of ourselves. And being a roster of only 11, it was difficult for us we didn't have quite the depth of, if somebody was bruised or battered, to kind of sub them out and give them the rest. So they were getting a lot of reps, and now's the time to make sure when they come back, they're 110%. They're ready to go, and there's no sort of stopping them again.
So your team, following the 2020 inaugural season, you guys went 5-10, but there were some positives that went along with that, and one of which just happened, I believe, last week, which was you guys were accepted into the Eastern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association, D1 and D2 men's volleyball NCAA conference. You guys will begin play in 2022. How good is this for the program?
It's absolutely tremendous. I mean, it was the highest honor. It was such great news. It was great energy and vibe. I mean, that's the teams I grew up watching when I was in high school, even younger, going to the Princeton gym and watching that kind of level of volleyball. And that was it's full circle now that I'm back in it. And so it was absolutely incredible. Now we're playing for rings. This is like the big leagues now. We get like a 2-year kind of buffer period, and then it's, hey, we're right there.
So just for those that do not know, the Eastern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association, they approved St. Francis College, Brooklyn to become the conference's 9th member back on May 6th. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was last week, because let's be real, Niko, I think all of these days are becoming melded and gelled together where we don't even know what day it is. Today feels like a Saturday, but it's only Wednesday. So who knows? Now there are some other schools, and I'm actually going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you if you're a baseball guy, something that is not on the script, but I will throw that in there. Now, as we did say, Sacred Heart, St. Francis, PA are 2 Northeast Conference schools that are a part of the aforementioned EIVA. Speak about how playing against normal Northeast Conference members or respective, other institutions that are rivals of St. Francis, Brooklyn. How good does that feel? Does that change the mentality for each respective match when it does come about in 2022, when your guys are playing for rings, not in the Northeast Conference, but in the EIVA?
I don't really think it changes too much because every game's an opportunity. Every game, it's a big motto that we have is control the controllables. It doesn't matter what's on the other side of the net. Doesn't matter who we're playing against. Treat every team like it's a national championship. And if you have that kind of mentality, that killer instinct, that's how you keep that consistency and that level of play high. So that's something we kind of go for every time.
Now, just to round out this amazing interview, I can't thank you enough, first off, for being here, Niko, because it's really been a lot of fun thus far. But I do want to ask you a few personal things just to round out who men's volleyball head coach Niko Lambert is. So now, in your time, when you're not recruiting or when you're not, speaking to them over the phone or whatever the case is there a favorite Netflix movie or any movies that you've been trying to keep up on, or even maybe some movies or Netflix series that you wanted to watch years ago, but then when you got this gig, it just went out the wayside and went to the back burner?
Yeah, well, Survivor's on tonight. Survivor's my staple. Wednesday night, tonight's season finale, so that's definitely one that I'll be tuning into. I caught up on Community. That was a Netflix show that just got added. Other than that, I don't really watch too much of the streaming services. Let's try to keep it away as much as possible. Limit my screen time.
I love it. That's really good. Again, because you got to enjoy nature as much as possible, because, it's been, thankfully today, it's a gorgeous day where we see where you are. So, especially on a rainy day, it's difficult. Now, I'm going to ask you this, and one more little nugget here, and I do apologize to you, Niko, because I don't want to keep going back and forth. But because you're a head coach and you are now the voice for this men's team, for any athlete, whether it be volleyball or any sport, how do you keep their mindset or their mental state where it's supposed to be if, God forbid, it was like in April, it was raining all the time? Obviously, April showers bring May flowers. Yes, we get that. How do you keep the mentality up to par when you have consistent rainy days and you have guys that, unfortunately, let's say live in an apartment or a condo and they can't go outside and run, or they don't have a home gym, some like how these professional athletes do? What is your advice to not only your players, but also just a general athlete, how they can get better and stay focused?
It's definitely get creative. There's tons of different stimulus and ways to get better. Maybe if there's really nothing you can do, maybe watch film. Maybe if you say, okay, I'll watch an hour of film here, or maybe I'll use this couch as for a dip bar. There's ways to find everything and to find that the silver lining in everything.
Now, because as we did say, summer is right around the corner, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Funny enough, I'm not a big ice cream guy.
Really?
It's a rough answer, but not my summer vice. My summer treat is definitely Tostitos and salsa, though. That I'll substitute for ice cream, but not the biggest ice cream guy.
Tostitos scoops and a little bit of mild salsa, medium or hot? What do you got there?
Varies. Switch it up. Don't keep things stale.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's excellent. So we got that. So now, obviously, for those that were watching our first 2 interviews, we had 2 ice cream and now 1 Tostitos. So that's pretty good. We'll have to keep that tally for those that are watching at home. Now, for volleyball, in all seriousness, the most inspirational person that you look up to in not only in life, but also in volleyball.
For just a coaching aspect, I'd have to say Herb Brooks, the 1980 men's Olympic hockey coach. I mean, I remember watching Miracle as a kid, and then when you do your own research, you're like, wow, this man's a genius. I quote him to my boys all the time. They get sick of me quoting him. But in terms of volleyball, I'll definitely have to say my high school coach, Corey Romanek. He kind of kept our head, and he taught me so much about volleyball, about coaching, about what makes the sport fun. And honestly, it boils down to fun. I mean, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, why are you doing it? So that's a big thing. He definitely helped put me on this trajectory that I'm at now. So,
Niko, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on Behind the Terriers, episode number 3, right here, powered by the Terrier Sports Network. And we hope to see you next year in the Genovese Center, and we get to see some men's volleyball in action and your team in year number 2, just before the EIVA time for you starts.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I'm really happy here that we got to welcome Niko Lambert. For those that are watching at home, we cannot thank you enough. It is a gorgeous Wednesday afternoon, so for those that are staying here and watching with us, again, thank you very much. For our producer, Luis Velez, and the rest of our crew at the Terrier Sports Network, the athletic department at St. Francis College, and St. Francis College as a whole, I'm Joey Jarzinka. We'll see you next time.